Hello and welcome to another Trev Talks Tech, hard on the heels of the Dalek project. And if you've seen that video, thanks for watching. If not, I recommend you go and see it just to see what all that fun and games was about. So what are we doing today? Well, I got a bit inspired by doing the Dalek project, combining an Amazon Echo with a Dalek body with some lights and distortion effects. And now I'm going to get into something I've been saying I'm going to fix and sort out for a while. And it's the actual BBC toy Dalek. It's about 18 inches tall. And not actually a lot was wrong with it. It's just that the head motor stopped working. But to get to the head motor, you had to undo a lot of screws and also remove some glued on panels. And that wasn't the easiest thing. So I was putting it off for a while. And in a similar vein, and thanks to my ADHD, I've also been putting off putting it back together as well. But inspired by what I've been doing with Dalek, so here I am, and I'm going to try and get this sorted now. So I'm just going to bring out the actual box of bits and pieces. You'll see where I've got it to. And then we will see about what we do about putting it back together. It's a great piece of kit. It's a lovely toy when it's working, and I'm sure I still have the instructions somewhere. I don't think I have the box. That went a long time ago. That's why boxed up things get to be valuable over many years, isn't it? There's not a lot wrong with it. We just need to repair one of the head motors that operates the eye stalk. The rest of it, I think, basically works. I've got one or two physical repairs to do. So let's have a look. Right, so the first thing to show you is the remote. So the remote here, it has a couple of different modes. This is a great piece of kit, like I say. It has a couple of modes. One of them is to be driven by remote control. So we've got 2-axis controls. We've got front and back. We've got left and right. So we can move the arms, or we can move the head unit and the eye stalk on the one hand, and we can also move the whole unit forwards and backwards and left and right. It's got that kind of both 2 sticks forwards, 2 sticks backwards, turn to the left, turn to the right kind of. And then these smaller sticks, there's one for the eye and one which is for the actual rotation of the head. And the last thing, the button in the middle there, that's the exterminate button, and that can fire the gun. So there you go. That's if you're using it without all its autonomous features. But that's where the fun comes in, because the whole thing is able to be autonomous. It will run around if you've got the suitable floor, avoid objects, things reasonably well. I wouldn't say it's perfect at it, but for a toy, albeit a fairly expensive toy, I think it cost best part of £100 maybe back in the early 2000s, was a fair bit of money. But to me, as a bit of a fan, it was definitely worth it. Right, let's get the bits out and look at the damage, shall we? I'm not sure where to start. So there is the base section. I'm going to move you down now, so goodbye from my head. I will just show you what's going on down here. There is the base section. That's got the motive unit built into it. I've got what is the rear section of the shoulders and neck rings, and you can see probably that there are some, you see the daylight through there are a few screws in there. And the really annoying thing was how much all these screws were covered up. I know it made it a bit more child safe, but it didn't make it very serviceable, and clearly they weren't thinking about that. So I've got shoulders and neck piece one. This is the base of it. This reminds me very much of those little project robots that you can get. This, like the turtle that followed a line back in the day. We've come a long way since then. And in the battery compartment, this thing actually takes several. I just closed it on myself. This unit takes a whole set of AA batteries in there, and if we close that flap up, I've got 2 or 4 bays there for some large D cells, and this size D cell battery are the ones we need to use to actually power the motors. Alright, we've also got under here a switch to go between its remote control mode, from remote control to off to on, and by on we mean autonomous mode. So there you go, we'll obviously bumble along. Excuse me. It's got a little ball mounted top, and it's got a couple of drive motors there. So little ball passive unit there, and there is the control cable which goes up to the main control unit. So again, like I say, that none of that part was actually a problem. All that sits together like so, and then the rest of the unit bolts onto it. So I'm going to put that aside for one moment, because that's kind of the last part of the puzzle, getting that back together. I've got here a box with all of the bits and pieces in. So these are the bits I had to prise off with a heat gun, and we've got a couple of the shoulder sections. One of them, the plastic is quite pliable on this, and one of it'll go back right enough. It just might take a bit of coaxing, a bit more judicious gluing. So there's 2 of those, and there's a couple of sections from the neck rings, the grill between the neck rings, which need to go on where the screws are. We've also got the gun. That's a plug-in unit. You can see on there, there's actually got a gun. There's an LED in the end of that, so that whole thing is operational. And here is the eye stalk. And the eye stalk again is a working LED. This is actually a bicolor LED, so it will go red. It has this weird thing it can do. I'm just going to bring it back up here a second. So it has this weird thing it can do, which is when you talk to it, you say Dalek, and it says yes, and then you feed it a key word. That works quite well. But if you do it too often, it actually can get annoyed with you, and this will go red instead of blue, and it will start to get pushy and start getting obstreperous and not doing what you want it to do. It has a bit of a hissy. Anyway, so that's that. And we've got the 2 ear pieces. Now, Dalek was based on the same model of Dalek, but obviously that one was that brown and purple that I chose to make it. Next one of those I do will be more like this. I've got some silver. Not sure how I'm gonna do that yet. So we've got a little kit of parts there that will need to be put back. I've got another one here. Oh, this is the battery compartment, and there's some bits and pieces here. Some of the little hemispheres came off because there were some screws hidden behind those. Again, the whole thing was designed really not to be serviced. And here, of course, is the full-on skirt section. Everything that was meant to be, you can see from the inside maybe that there are some screws that hold the 2 sections together, and a lot of them were hidden behind these hemispheres. I soon realised when I took it apart that I didn't need to actually take all those screws off, and so I very quickly stopped, but not before I'd taken one of the hemispheres off along with the surround on it, and yeah, it kind of broke a bit, so a bit of super glue required there. Now one of these, this one here, is actually a hidden switch, and that hidden switch is designed to stop the motive power unit so that the Dalek just has to sit there in its one place. It stops it from rolling around, And I did once discover that this really cannot climb stairs, or it certainly can't descend them, because running around stairs, running around up at the top of the hallway on the landing one day, that it found the stairs and then went tumbling down them, which unfortunately broke the sucker unit, the sucker arm, in one place, and yeah, generally didn't do it any good. So that switch is on a little Rolex plug here, and so that needs to go back in as of when we do. So we're gradually getting to the full extent of the mechanism here. Let's get the next section out. This is where it gets messy. Oh yes. Here we go, look. Oh boy, I forgot just how messy this got. Let me just take that out of there. I've still got a connecting wire, but it's not quite as much of a problem. So it's attached by the microphone wire now. I'm just going to drop you down again. There we go. So it's still attached by the microphone wire. Zoom in a bit too. There we go. Okay, so we've got a couple of boards here. One of them, one has a couple of micro switches on. I'm struggling to remember what that did, but I think it's to do with the position of the head. Here we've got this is the gearing. Oh, I've got a screw there. This is the gearing for it. And there is the sucker. You remember I said, oh, I had to say. Right. I remember I said the sucker arm broke. It doesn't do anything, the sucker arm. There's no extension on it, nothing pretty like that. But yeah, it just broke in two pieces when it fell down the stairs. And I'm going to need to just do some super gluing to put that properly back together. Real shame about that, but you know, these things happen. It's a toy, it gets played with. All right, so you can see that there, and then we've got another control. There's control circuits all over this. There's one in here. I don't want to separate this, but let me just bring this up to the camera just to show you better. You can see just inside here there's another control circuit. It's the actual chip says 8A99 1APE, and the actual chip number has been scrubbed out. Well, it's still there. It's just had it's got a line through it. I reckon with a bit of IPA, I might be able to check what that is. But I think, I'm not sure that's the motor controller. Don't think so. Yeah, this one here seems to have more to do. Oh, it's actually more like lighting control, I think, on that one. With the other board here on the head, sorry, over there, that is got more to do with that. And I think whereas there might have been a connector on there, they've actually just soldered straight in. And there's a chip. There is a chip HK2610. No, 2810 maybe. And underneath 0720. So there's a little, I think what might be an LED driver. Seems that they made it for PCB on this. Was made for through hole, but they've actually mounted most of it on the back. So there you go. It looks like that was done to try and speed matters up a bit. Not quite sure how. Right, so we need to put the so we need to rebuild that head part, and I think the rest of this is going to be okay. There is a motor here. There's a motor. This big wheel here is actually attached to the head. There's a wire there. I don't know what that wire is doing. It's not a circuit wire. It just seems to be holding everything together somehow. There's a motor down there. There's a big gearbox just here. There's the end of the motor, and there's a big gearbox here that's rotating this whole head mechanism. That's all of this, and this is the eye motor mechanism, and this is the bit that actually stopped working. Now I can see that there's nothing wrong with the gears. If we look closely at the gear mechanism, here it is. Motor's supposed to be introduced into this somewhere and operate the thing. And there's a big cog there on the very end. Big cog engages with the cog here on the head motor. So that bit there, that's where the eye stalk that goes, just on there on the outside, of course, and that's that. We've also got a little piezoelectric transducer. That's not the main speaker. I think it does some beeping and booping, and it does it through there. There's a microphone on the very top, but I think there's more than one microphone because it has this uncanny way of rotating the head towards you if you're to one side. So I think there's more than one mic built into this. And that's it. That's the electronics of it. It's really about putting the poor thing back together, but making sure the head unit works this time. And obviously I don't want to bore you with the entire process. We'd be here for hours. But what I am going to do is try and set up the head unit, try and set the head up first of all, and see if I can't just inject a bit of voltage onto the controlling motor and see what that is. Now here's the motor for the eye stalk unit. That's just here. I'm going to zoom you, and bring it in a bit and zoom you down. There you go. 4 times. That's as good as it gets with this. Pardon in advance the white balance, by the way, in case that's not so good. So here's our motor. I don't know if it's the motor that's died or the controller that has died, but or indeed if there's just been a short-circuiting wire somewhere that's caused it to stop working. Everything seems to be glued into place. Oh, there's the motor. That's going to that little chip, so I suspect that chip had something to do. I suspect this chip has something to do with it in terms of making the motor work. Alright, I'm going to do a bit of investigation now on this, and I'll set up the gearbox to see if that works. That's when I'll come back to you. Right, so let's have a look at where we've got to here. I'll just bring you down a bit and across. There you go. Look at the interesting parts. And what's going on? Right, trusty pointer here. So, got the head unit. Haven't reassembled it yet. Here's the gearing mechanism. And you know what? I've just put the motor back together, and I don't know whether it just needs a little bit of a knock or something, a little bit of a movement, but it's now working just fine. Which begs the question, did I really need to do all this? I don't know, but perhaps I wanted to anyway. So does actually seem to be working. I don't seem to have done anything for that, apart from maybe knock the motor around a bit, and it seems to have recovered. Not sure about the rotation on the head. I've not seen that working yet, but I managed to do this. The reason I've been able to do this is because I'm using the bench power supply over here. So if I just pull it up a bit, where's my hand? Yeah. So the bench power supply here I'm providing 6 volts. And there's actually 2 sets of 6-volt batteries on this. But what I've done for the purpose of the exercise is I've just combined the 2 sets of battery leads, so they're on a single supply from the bench. That's giving me 6 volts. And connecting everything back together, the little switch and the head unit, okay. Probably not a lot to see now because it works. But let's get it back together anyway. Let me show you it doing its proper job. little story. I was thinking of putting an Amazon Echo unit into this. I wasn't sure if I was going to keep the electronics quiet as they are. I was going to put an Amazon Echo unit in here, maybe switch that on. And then the option of 3D printing another Dalek body came along, and that idea went out the window, and I did it separately. So this I want to put back into its more or less original state. It's going to be a bit interesting, like I say, getting these moulded to mould back to how they should have been, but I think I'll manage. Anyway, so the motor does seem to be operating. I'm going to put the head back together and see if I can't get that bit. Let's just hear what goes on here. So there's a beep to get it going. I think I've just put it into RC mode actually, rather than, yeah, need to go the other way. Okay, and the head unit LED is on. There you go, you can just see it flashing away there. And it should be actually outputting on the speaker at this point. I should be hearing honk, 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 honk. Oh, there goes the, there you go. I think it has like a self-alignment process. That motor's well and truly working now. Extremely frustrated that it didn't work before.
Dalek unit status 100% efficiency awaiting input.
There you go. So that bit is working. Dalek,
Yes.
do you recognise the TARDIS?
Does not compute. Read state question.
It used to compute. Dalek,
Yes.
guard area.
Understood. Dalek unit engaging guard mode. Leave this area or be exterminated.
Oh, that engaged the motor, as you can just tell, and that put the bench power supply up to about 0.7 amps, which is why it uses the D batteries for motor drive. I think it does that so it doesn't deplete the little baby ones too quickly and mess up the control system. Now the idea behind this particular...
Dalek multi-spectrum scanning now engaged.
Now what happens here is that when the Dalek actually recognises something in its field of vision,
This area or be exterminated.
and if you persist in being in the area, it should... I'm getting in the way of the little...
Terminate.
and that fires the blue LED gun there, which I probably weren't able to see, but is just over here. Okay, so that's the thing at work. I'm just going to turn it off. I'm going to rebuild the head motor unit, because that does seem to be playing ball now, which is on the one hand lovely, and on the other hand a bit frustrating. Let's turn everything off, turn the power off, and I'm going to rebuild that. The board goes underneath, so I've got to try and fit that over there. I think the microphone goes behind the board. This should sit like so. Oh, there we go. Right, so let's get all the wires out of the way. And that is sitting there, and it's engaging with the eye unit. And then I've got, there's a space for all of the from the circuit board to sit on top. Right, so that's the head unit. Ooh, parts of it back together. We're not done yet though, because we've got these two limit switches here that are the like cams that sit over the eye stalk unit, and they detect its position, which is, you think this is a toy. This is pretty clever stuff, you know. I think it's actually trying to calibrate its position. It should find the limit switches. Let's get this eye on there as well. It does complain if you don't have the eye attached. It actually senses if the eye is not there. It also senses when the gun's not there as well. Well, the other thing I'll do, just to show you, is I will reconnect the ear lamps, as I refer to them as. Everything's very squidgy. This plastic's all sort of, all designed to sort of sit in, and the plastic's quite squidgy. Right, let's reconnect the power and see if I can get Salvador. Did I tell you that this is Salvador? That's right, Salvador Dalek. Don't groan all at once.
Dalek unit status 100% efficiency awaiting input.
Maybe if I actually reconnected the head to the central control board, that would help. There we are. Okay, Dalek.
Yes.
You
are an enemy of the Daleks.
Oh, thank you.
Danger! Alert!
Trying to help you here.
You are an enemy of the Daleks.
So you keep saying, but I'm trying to help you out, you know.
Exterminate!
So, like I said, you can upset it, and then it goes red. Oh, there we go. Right, that's the eye unit working then. Well, I'm not seeing working, hang on.
Dalek unit status 100% efficiency awaiting input.
Dalek?
Yes?
Do you recognise the Doctor?
I obey. Memory banks engaged. Doctor. Time Lord. Dalek enemy number 1. Override priority is to exterminate. Exterminate!
You heard it here first. Well, actually, you heard it back in 1963. So, the unit...
Yes?
Oh, nothing. Peace. The unit doing a few odd things, but I suspect that might be due to the fact that it's got a slightly noisy power supply. I don't believe this power supply is absolutely 100% dead flat. I've got a few suspicions about that, but dead regulated, dead level. So a little bit of noise maybe, which is why it runs effectively on batteries, but probably doesn't run too well on a mains power supply. But it's doing for my purposes. Like I say, the only thing I've also noticed is that the head unit motor, the horizontal rotation motor, that doesn't seem to be doing anything. And it really should. We'll expect that little unit back there to be moving around, and I'm not seeing much movement. Also, as you've no doubt noticed, this ear unit doesn't seem to be doing anything. Ooh, I hope it's not one of those tiny little transistors, because that's going to be interesting. Ah, here we go. I think I've got a bit of a glue and LED connection problem here. I'm just going to fix that. We'll carry on. Okay, so the head unit is all okay. The eye piece, eye stalk seems to work, and sure enough, there was a wire off at on one of the ear side LEDs. That's been fixed, and that part seems to work now. I do now feel justified in having to take this apart, because what I found is that the motor here that controls the head rotation, that had actually seized, and so I was injecting a bit of voltage onto it directly, and nothing. Tapped it a few times with a screwdriver, and now we have rotation. So been leaving that running for a bit, and there you go. We appear to have liftoff now. There's some kind of positioning system that goes with that on here. I haven't fully worked it out. By the way, there are a couple of what look like other microphones here as well. And I think because I've got it taken apart, the phasing of these isn't working. When I put it all back together, the microphone phasing of the two to the sides and the one on top does tend to cause the head to move in response to which way it thinks the sound is coming from. So that's good. That appears to be all right. This is the obviously the motor control board for that part. Lots of capacitors on there, but I think really fundamentally, for the amount of time it's been used and the age of it, the only real problem with this was the motor was just slightly seized up. Maybe it just got stuck a bit on its commutator, but I've given it a good whiz around now. This head unit can't move too far because somehow the cables from the head have to feed down through here, and they must do so in such a way that when the head moves, it doesn't move too far. So let's get the motor reconnected now. Motor reconnected. Just going to connect this unit up, this piece alone. I'm just going to reconnect to the power supply. I'm wondering really whether all I need, whether the sort of incoming power supply I could have used for this board by itself, but let's play it the way it seems to work and power this up from here. So I've got that ongoing, and run that. What I'm hoping is going to happen is this will recalibrate itself. Now it's going to complain about a missing gun. It's going to complain about missing, like I said. Yes, I know, Dalek. Thank you for pointing that out. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. It should find its location. I think, by the way, this little circuit down here is, and actually looking at the inductor on it, that sort of kind of gives it away a bit as well. I think this is the remote control circuit. So that there is a remote control, and there's this big white wire running around the inside. But that's the remote control receiver antenna. And I think what I'll do in a bit to test all this out once I get back together is to reinstate the RC controller, and we can see all this actually working properly. Okay, we are making progress. So I've got the front of the Dalek back together. I've currently got it in remote control mode, and so that means I'm using this to operate the basic functions now. Something funny just happened. I've got the base behind here because I've got the voltage connections, the battery connections are on here, and the motor control circuit is there. So I was just turn the remote control on. Of course, the first control I hit was for one of the motors, and of course just nearly went flying off and taking this with it. Fortunately, I caught it before it got too far. So round the back here, I'll just turn this around to show you what's going on back here. So it looks like one of those scenes from one of those robot films where it's in the laboratory and they're testing it all out. And here it is, all the circuitry there. So it's the cables I've just spun the head around, and it actually has more than enough room for the cables to work. So let me just show you. There's the eye stalk working. It gets to the maximum. It's not the smoothest mechanism in the world, but it does work. And the head also works very well. I just have to make sure that the wiring does actually stay in the right bit, doesn't get hooked up anywhere it shouldn't. There we go. In practice, I don't think the head will actually have to spin that far. I'll just have to make sure, like I say, the wiring doesn't get too caught up, or else it isn't going to work. So that's RC mode, and everything's working. Oh, let's just get your head back towards the centre and lift the eye stalk up to you. And he's looking at you. Right. So, and the one thing I'm not trying is the exterminate button.
We are the supreme beings. You will make a good Dalek.
Oh, I forgot. It's not just the exterminate button. It's actually the make a talk
I
button.
must exterminate all other life forms.
Oh, 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 oh. Oh dear.